She loved the water so much, and the water loved her back, whispering in her dreams. Water has no flag. Water knows no race. The earth's belly grew until her waters broke, and all of creation took its first breath.
I've been a water advocate since I was 8 years old. My Auntie Josephine, she inspired people globally, raising awareness and praying for the water. She did pass away about 6 months ago now. Her dying wish was for me to carry on her work.
A young leader from Canada, she's known as a water warrior, internationally known for the work that she has done and the issue of safe and clean water. Autumn Peltier, she's been on...
I know there are people in this room who deeply disagree with our position to move ahead with the Kinder Morgan pipeline.
What did you want to say to him?
I just said to him, I'm very unhappy with the choices you made and broken promises to my people. Then he said, I understand that. All I said was the pipelines, and then he said, I will protect the water.
The water is the lifeblood of Mother Earth, and without that lifeblood, none of us would be here. Nothing would be here. Where I come from, when the Creator molded us, pieces of us fell down. When those pieces hit the earth, they started to grow up as medicine. When the water's contaminated, the medicines are contaminated. Certain medicines don't grow anymore. Certain animals don't migrate in certain territories. When they're eating contaminated vegetation and water and they're getting sick, and then we're eating the animals, we're starting to get sick. And so that's how we're all connected. I'm gonna smudge this dress. We're gonna cleanse it. So when you're out wearing this dress, speaking at the United Nations, you'll be blessed and protected, and you'll speak from the heart, connect with the ancestors.
The spirit of water exists in every raindrop, in every stream and puddle, in the veins of trees, and in every tear we shed for joy or grief. Water walkers, defenders of water. We do it for the next generations, for the babies of all species. Keep going. Stay strong.
When I was 8 years old, I was attending a water ceremony in Serpent River First Nation. When I was at the ceremony, I went to the bathroom, and all over the walls, signs that said, not for consumption, don't touch or drink the water, and boil water advisory. I asked my mom, what does all that mean? What's the boil water advisory? And then she told me what all of it meant. There's kids that were my age that did not know at all what it's like to drink clean water from a tap. People living in third world conditions in a rich country where things like that shouldn't be happening. There's a lot of youth becoming activists. We're realizing what kind of future the adults today are giving us for tomorrow.
So I'm excited about Friday. It's the Youth March. I'm excited to see how many youth and young people are going to be there. It's a big event, this climate summit. It's in New York City. And the best part of it is you'll never forget turning 15 because there's so many things happening on that day. There's going to be the huge climate strike, and we're speaking at the United Nations. Let's go there. And that goes right here. There. The Adventures of Autumn.
Our children are unable to see obstacles in their path, for they are always looking up to us and never at their feet. When we encounter an obstacle in their way, it is our responsibility to remove it. We are the protectors of our children, and when we fail, the children must learn to protect themselves.
This will be my second time speaking at the United Nations, and I know when I speak at the United Nations, I'm being heard.
Knowing the lineage that she comes from, you know, there was a lot of fighters. There was a lot of warriors. Even on her dad's side of the family, she comes from a line of chiefs. It doesn't surprise me that she is who she is. But it's hard work. Sometimes it can be challenging for her because, you know, she's a kid still. Media exposure, it comes with a price as well, the work. You get treated a different way, and there was a point where we didn't even feel like going out for a while. We just kind of stayed home. We'd only go out if we had to. That was really hard.
I was being bullied because of the jealousy from other kids, because not a lot of kids get to do the stuff I was doing, like meeting the Prime Minister at a young age.
At first, she didn't even tell me, but I started noticing different changes in her.
I came home with a bunch of cuts because they were slamming my face to the snow and sitting. They were trying to suffocate me. And then my face was slammed into the fence, and it makes me really emotional. That was really hard for me.
As she stood in cold and ice, and in heat and rain, around each bend of the lake she thanked the water. At each puddle and stream, she asked the water for help. Soon the people started to join in, and the water started to become clean.
Us kids were having to stand up as leaders. We're advocating for our future. Kids should be in school, and even me right now, I should be in school. Actually act now, not tomorrow, not next year, not next month, today. I'm missing a week of school to speak at the United Nations to try and tell adults how we're seeing our future, and that the way we're seeing our future is not in a good way. Everything is about money to the adults. You can't eat money. You can't drink oil. One day I will be an ancestor, and I want my descendants to know I use my voice so they can have a future. I've heard of places like Flint, Michigan, 6 nations of the Grand River. All across these lands, we know somewhere where someone can't drink the water. Why so many, and why have they gone without water so long? We can't live in our mother's womb without water. As a fetus, we need that sacred water for development. The sacred significance is that my mother comes from her mother's water, my grandmother comes from her mother's water, and my great-great-grandmother comes from her mother's water. No child should grow up not knowing what clean water is, or never knowing what running water is. Now is the time to warrior up and empower each other to take a stand for our planet. Let's do this for our great-grandchildren. Thank you, Miigwech. I do wish my Auntie Josephine could see what I'm doing right now. She's always taught me to keep on going and never give up. No matter what people say about your work or what you're doing, you know what you want. Pray for the water because the water doesn't have a voice, you're speaking up for it.
To our mother, whose waters broke on that first day and made song possible, we sing now for you, to you, with you, drumming to your heartbeat, with nothing left to give but our bones and flesh as an offering, so that we too can drink in life as our journey continues for another 1,000,000 years and another 1,000,000 cycles around the sun.
For those of you who don't know Jeff, we are so lucky to have him here at George Brown. He's been here for almost 3 decades. 3 decades. Started out as a famous chef on APTN and did a great cooking show and has been teaching the generations and generations of learners here at George Brown culinary skills that embody Indigenous ways of knowing, being, and learning. So thank you, Chef Wolfman, for being such a great thread in our community and for moderating us today. I'll pass it over to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to start also by saying I'm local alumni. That was great when I started. So first of all, I'd like to say welcome. Thank you so much. Honored to be here with you today. I have a few questions to ask. I want to start off with, can you tell us a bit more about how you began this journey? Second part of the question is, what does it mean to you that youth are empowered by all you do, by all your efforts?
Well, this journey starts typically before I can remember to even started, because my mother was a single mother. She raised me and my sisters on her own, and I admire her for where I am today, because that's all because of her. She of course raised me with the traditional lifestyle, learning my ways ways of life traditionally, and learning about my culture, my people, my language. And that consisted of attending ceremonies and sending ceremonies to like Josephine, who also has had a very big impact on the work that I do. And my grandfather, who is also a very big part of where I am today. So it's really the people and the mentors that I was fortunate to have in my life that kind of got me where I am, and learning about, of course, my culture and people. Why I'm where I am, but another part of it was, I guess where it really started was I was attending a water ceremony in a First Nations community that was about an hour and a half away from mine, and I was 8 years old at the time, and I ended up having to use the washroom. I ended up having to use the washroom. And when I went to go wash my hands, there was signs on the mirrors that said don't not for consumption, boil water advisory, do not drink the water. Of course, I have no idea what this means or why I can't do this. Mom, like, why is it this way? What does this mean? So she explained to me that this community wasn't able to drink the water. Of course, I still kind of really don't know what this means or why. But later that night, I went home and I had started researching boil water advisories and watching videos of chiefs talking about it, and just news articles, and whatever there was to find. And so in that moment, it struck the thought for me, well, these kids that are my age and younger have no idea what it's like to drink water from their tap. They've never experienced that. And we're in a first world country. So that didn't sit right with me. And that's kind of where it, I guess, strike all of those thoughts for me. And I guess with
we really want to hear you. We are all here for you today. I'm going to give you the handheld mic if you don't mind, please. Check.
Amount of time that I've been doing my work, I've come to realize that youth voices are actually the most powerful voices, and the message is so much more stronger and again powerful when it's coming from a young person and youth. And that's why I encourage young people to stand up and use their voices. I had no idea that I would be where I am or doing what I am today when I first, used my voice. And I also like to say that when you know something is wrong, something has to be done, because children, young people should not have to be speaking up about world or political issues. And if we are, it's still powerful if we are. So that's why I encourage it.
Thank you. Now the next question I have, I realize that our words are. Thank you for sharing that. What is the current state of water protection? And has anything been done since you actually raised your voice from Justin Trudeau in 2016? And then the second part of this is, do you believe your advocacy has been recognized to a point that's actually influenced? Did anything happen since talking to the points?
Well, I was 8 years old when I started doing this, and I'm now 18, turning 19 in a few months. It's a very long time. And in that time frame, I've seen very little to no change, which is of course upsetting. But the change that I have seen is within the Indigenous communities across Canada, and I guess within Indigenous people across Canada, which is still change for me, because that's kind of where the message has to get out. But there has been no legislative change on terms of like laws, policies, and government, and with Indigenous people and water issues, which is of course upsetting. But there is change, and I guess with where I've been recognized is mainly, of course, again within Indigenous people, and I've been named Chief Water Commissioner since I was about 14 years old now, and that's, for me, it's very honorable being recognized by my people for my work, and so it's kind of where I've seen most changes within my own people.
Oh, fascinating. Thank you. The next question I have is, what can we do or everybody do to protect the waterways so that it doesn't fall under their responsibility? but just our people yet?
Well, I mean, we're moving into spring right now, and the ice is melting, the water's flowing, so I feel like it's important to for everyone to kind of take the responsibility to go and clean up the waterways and take care of it that way, and promote not abusing our waters, and it's just educating yourselves and talking about the issues, and I feel like it's something everyone can do.
Yeah,
Right now.
absolutely. You see something very obvious. My mom used to say, "Go on, great lesson, thank you." Now, can you tell us about any current initiatives that you're part of and related to water solutions at this time?
Well, right now I am partnered with the Dreamcatcher Charitable Foundation, and with that, it's a way for to help Indigenous people in First Nations communities that have no access to clean drinking water, and it's a temporary solution, but of course it is a solution in the meantime, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
And do you work with any other foundations or charities?
I do work with like a few like Anishinaabe Nation and stuff like that. That's really it right now.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Now, what has been one of your most memorable highlights throughout your journey? I know there's probably a lot of them. You can share one or two of them with us.
I feel my most honorable moments would be probably speaking at the United Nations for sure, and the World Economic Forum, only because when speaking at places like that, I know that my voice is being heard, and my message is getting across on a global level. And considering that Indigenous issues are not talked about and are very underrepresented, it's really it's a really good feeling to be able to talk about them on platforms like that, where I'm not talking about it only within Canada. I'm making the issues that are not talked about and swept under the carpet and hidden known globally. So those are I feel like would be my most honorable moments.
How did you feel after getting off stage at the UN there? How did you feel?
Oh, it was definitely an overwhelming experience considering who I was speaking to. It was a room of 173 world leaders, which is very overwhelming, but being able to speak somewhere like that again it's very empowering for myself when continuing my work and using my voice, but it's also very empowering to know that I'm creating change and I'm able to I guess make change in a way where I don't know, I never really felt like I was able to accomplish something this big, and being able to make change and see it happening is a really good feeling for me.
Yeah, and now it's out there, so it's not like it's not good. It's so fantastic. So as you continue your to inspire change makers, knowing likely that many are here in the audience, so when you first chose the platform as large and significant as the United Nations at a young age of 15, what message would you say to anyone who has sort of a fear or public speaking, or they can't get out, or maybe they know the message is someone else? What would you suggest to them?
Well, for me, it's knowing that everybody here is here because they want to hear what I have to say, and it's for good intentions only. So that's, I guess, thinking about everything in a positive way is how I go about doing things. And I always encourage youth, because again, youth voices are so powerful, and I love hearing it come from a young person. And yeah, I guess public speaking, I kind of pretend people aren't here sometimes. Like, it works, and I tend to look other places. I can't see everybody, but yeah.
You're very inspirational. Well, so thank you for that. So what's one message that you would give to any of the youth who are out there listening to you right now? You have one message to say to them.
Well, again, I had no idea where I would end up, by simply using my voice that one day at school. That's how I started actually. I started by writing speeches about, there was a language speaking contest at my school, and we had to write speeches about what we were most passionate about, and mine happened to be like water and the environment. And so with that, I got recognized for speaking in my school and to my fellow classmates, and that's literally how I started, was just speaking at school and writing letters to your local members of parliament or the prime minister. I even wrote a letter to the Queen, and I've got responses from all of them, which was, again, I had no idea that was going to work, but it did. And so I don't know, just kind of like just doing it and kind of just taking the risk and just being confident is what I suggest, because you never really know where you're gonna end up.
Well, I always have been told that one action beats a million well-intended words. It's so nice that you took the action to stand in front of people and speak, and that you're doing this here today. So I want to say thank you for that. Thank you for sharing with us. And I think that's we're gonna so this.
Thank you so much, Autumn. I know that water advocacy and the protection of water rights for Indigenous communities is something that's really near and dear to my heart. So it's an honor to have you with us here today, and it's great to hear from you. But now I'd like to open up to the audience for some Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, please let us know. We did have a mic, but we had to divert. So maybe use your voice. Oh, I see that we also have some questions from the virtual session. Yeah. Hi.
I have a question for you. I was wondering if you were like this documentary is wonderful. It's beautifully made. I was wondering if you're planning to see the new one very soon.
There definitely is some opportunities to do similar things, yes, and it is something I will consider.
Yeah.
What is some of the most challenging?
That's a good question.
Sorry, just so everyone can hear, I just want to repeat the question. So the first question was, we do hope you will make another video, because that video was exceptional and it was so inspiring. So are you making video number 2?
Possibly, yes.
Okay. If you need us to help you with that, we will help you with that. I know you got a great team supporting you as well. Second question, and what's your name, sweetheart? Fiona. What was your question?
My question was, what are some of the most challenging?
What are some of the most challenging parts of advocacy and being a water protector?
Well, again, it's a very good question because it is very challenging. As you can, I don't know if you've seen, but there was a part where I mentioned bullying, and I did face a lot of bullying while doing this, unfortunately, but it was in the end a good thing for me to experience, because it made me a lot stronger and it made me the person I am today. And again, I always look at things in a positive way, and I don't know, it was hard. I almost gave up, but what type of role model would I be for people like you if I was to give up? So, you gotta stay strong, you gotta be a mentor, and gotta pave that way. So yes, it was challenging, it was hard, but did it.
I have 2 questions. I just want to vote. My first is, if you were to meet Justin Trudeau today, what would you say to him? And then my second question is, you're 18, you're going to post-secondary. What are you going to study? Where are you going to go? Are you interested in
Well, if I was to see Justin Trudeau, it would probably be the same emotions, the same level of again, emotions. Yeah, same emotions I had the first time, because like I mentioned, there's very little to no change since the last time I seen him. And unfortunately, that is an unfortunate case, because my Aunt Josephine, she passed away doing this work, and she was, in her elderly age, and sometimes I fear that I may be doing this at that time, and I do not want to die doing this, and I hope I can make change before then. And I feel like that's a part of something that I would tell him, because that happened when I was 12 years old. I'm now turning 19, and that's a very long time for to make change. And that's upsetting, but I would probably have the same emotions that I did the first time. And in terms of studies, I am attending university in the fall, and I'm studying criminology actually, but I'm basing it around like Indigenous people within the criminal justice system, and like missing word Indigenous women, because with the work I do, it wasn't like, of course, the beginning it was the drinking water issues in First Nations communities, but as I got older and I started to learn a lot more about Indigenous people, it was much more than just clean drinking water issues. it's, you know, it's human rights, it's racism, it's discrimination, it's missing the word of Indigenous, there's so much more to it. And so as I learned that, you know, I kind of grew an interest in those fields.
Thanks, Autumn. And when you're done your undergrad, if you want to do a postgrad here, you're welcome. Peltier.
Online question.
Maybe even taller.
You want to read it out? Yeah, so there's an online question. Question is from Jamie, and I believe they're in 3D4. Is the film available to view again and to share with others within our organization?
The film is on HBO and Crave.
And great.
Are there any other questions from the audience?
Or online?
Oh,
No, ask. Ask if there's any questions.
are any questions from the virtual session?
We got a question over here.
Hi, thank you so much. It's wonderful that you're here and sharing your knowledge with us. I had a question about the water ceremonies because it struck me when you said that that was really powerful in your family and the community. I was wondering if you could speak more about the water ceremonies and whether that is a route, for example, for connecting people who may not. I'm thinking about urbanization and how much of our population in Canada, of the settler population specifically, is urban and maybe disconnected from their physical environment and the waters. So yeah, I guess the water ceremony and whether that would play a role in greater awareness or change.
Well, the water ceremony is really to kind of, you know, that's your way of praying for the water and Mother Earth and giving thanks and, you know, praying for change. And that is something that, yes, can connect people and really lost business. But because it is a way where we connect, because, you know, when you typically pray, I pray personally on a daily basis for the water, and I pray during water walks, and my Aunt Josephine actually created the water walks, and that is something where everyone can participate in. And that is something that I do promote, and it is your way, it is everyone's way of being able to pray and kind of give thanks and raise awareness for the water. And Joey, we got one down here. Thanks.
Hey, Autumn. I heard you speak last year at Expo, and I was so inspired by everything you said and do. And you spoke about, you were asked about change, and I want to tell you, you've made an amazing change to me because I didn't know about the water. And now hundreds and hundreds of other people here at George Brown also know about the water. And every time you speak, people are hearing about the water. So I wanted you to know you are making incredible changes. Even if it's not in legislation, it's in everybody's minds and hearts and spirits. And you spoke in the film that the adults want the adults to speak. And I want to tell you, you have the adults in the room right now. You have the president of George Brown College here listening. And I would love if there was anything you could say to the adults in the room to keep the ones that after the session, can we participate in the water walks? Can we do clean water cleanups around the campus? You know, I would love to hear any other suggestions because I am from Local 557 and we are always here ready to spirit any change that we can do here at George Brown and advocate to President here for that change as well.
Well, as adults, I feel like it's most important to be educating the youth and younger people that you are surrounded with in your lives, because again, empowering and encouraging youth to use their voices is extremely important. And, you know, educating yourselves, educating others, you know, because there is a lot of misinformation or inappropriate information that is spread about Indigenous peoples and Indigenous issues, but I feel like when you're talking about the correct information, you know, learning about the correct information, that's really important when researching these issues or learning more about them. So that's important. And Yeah, cleaning up waterways is something that I do personally and something that I do encourage other people to do because that's your way of like helping, and I feel like directly helping the water is like that's a way where I feel like directly I'm like doing something. So that's what I encourage people to do.
Thank you so much. And we offer this series over the lunch so that people can join us and we can be most accessible. We have time for one more question and then we're going to move to our closing remarks.
There's about 3 online.
Oh, okay, I have one here for you. What brings you joy in the work that you do?
What brings me joy in the work I do is actually seeing young kids. So it's really nice to see, the young kids in front of me right now and the questions I get, because that's my favorite feedback. Because I don't know, I enjoy speaking with kids the most, because when an experience that I've actually had was I spoke at a school here in Toronto actually, and when I spoke, all the kids who came up to me thought I was Moana, and I thought I was so they were all convinced that I was Moana, I was like some superhero, and so when I see stuff like that, it's like what brings you the most joy.
I can see the resemblance.
Well, that was a great, thank you for spending that time with us again. Earth Day is tomorrow. And so what you do tomorrow, like Autumn said, it's not just tomorrow, it's right now, it's we can leave here, it's reusable water bottles, not buying single-use bottles, things like that. And I just want to mention today that we have a lot of Indigenous activists that are joining Autumn in the water protection. And one of them is Joanne Robertson, who is with us today. So Joanne, where are you? Oh, she's online. Okay, Joanne is online. Thank you, Lisa. And she's provided copies of her book, The Water Walker. So these are free for everyone who was able to join us today. So please take one here. Joanne was also a speaker in our Indigenous Knowledge Keepers Series a couple months ago. And before I pass it over to Lisa for closing remarks, I also want to thank our elders. We have 2 of our elders joining us today that actually guide us in this work. We have Elder Bossier and Elder Jedjic. If you just want to stand up for a second. We really can't do half of what we do without their love and support. So Shimmy Bush.
Thanks everyone for joining us today and creating such a great discussion. Thank you, Jimmy, for his tech support and facilitating our virtual session. Sorry, everyone. And Joey for his continuous supporting guidance for our IKKS event. I also wanted to give a special thanks to President Gervin Huron for joining us today and providing some remarks, as well as our co-sponsors, Oxy Locals 556 and 557. And I just wanted to note that President Meg really recently joined the role of president, but Megan was involved in the planning process for quite some time. So thank you, Megan. And David for joining in on this important discussion today. And of course, a big Chimigwaj thank you to Autumn for joining us today.